Okay, I'm just going to go ahead and share this live link from YouTube on our community platform. Okay, and then we'll get it on LinkedIn. Okay, well, LinkedIn goes to Mighty. So, all right. You ready to come on camera?
Yes, sir.
Sweet. All right, everybody. Thank you for being here. Welcome to the Palm Beaches AI podcast. My name is James. I am your co-host. This is our first ever episode. Here today with us, we have Kiro. We're going to learn about Kiro and his background in artificial intelligence in just a minute. We're super excited to launch this podcast. It's designed to help local businesses and entrepreneurs learn how to leverage artificial intelligence to achieve better business outcomes. Our focus is here on Palm Beach, but the solutions that we develop based on our business owners' needs here in our own backyard are applicable to everyone throughout the United States and through the rest of the world as well. Today, we have a pretty exciting topic. We're talking about how to generate custom social media videos using artificial intelligence with minimal effort. So before we dive in, I want to introduce my co-host and partner, Kyrilos Hemai, as the creative mind behind the solution that we're discussing today. So, Kiro, if you don't mind, just go ahead and give a brief introduction of yourself and your interest in artificial intelligence.
All right, sweet. I'm really excited for this episode. I think it's gonna be something that everybody will benefit from, and it's been a topic that I've been asked about a lot. So before we dive into this exciting topics, just let me, as I say, let me just give a little bit of my background and what I've been doing and how kind of I got here. So basically, I started into technology around like 6, 7 years ago to build like solutions for businesses. And around like 3, 4 years ago, I started getting into like AI, and I kind of saw the potential of what it actually can do for businesses, from like automations to data analysis to language models was something like for the past 2 years everybody using into like different transform it more kind of upscale like machine learnings and data training and retuning and a lot of fun stuff. So that's been my journey, and around like I would say a year ago, I co-founded Utiva, and I dedicated my mission with AI will be to help like SMPs, like small to medium sized business owners, to utilize AI solutions, because I realize most of the AI solutions they're just for big companies. So what I made it my challenge to bring the cost and increase the effectiveness of the solutions to small to medium size to make it fair in the market. So yeah, you can call me. I'm the AI Robin Hood for small to medium size business owners.
Awesome. Well, that makes you the perfect guy to be solving the problem today. So without further ado, first of all, thank you for that introduction. And second of all, let's dive into the problem. So basically, the format of this podcast is that we go out into our local community here, again, in Palm Beach County in Florida, and we go speak with business owners and we learn about what they need and what problems they're trying to solve in their business. And then we address it with artificial intelligence, if it's possible. And so I was out in the community speaking with a real estate agent who attended our first event. And this real estate agent wanted to generate more leads. And my background is in marketing. I've worked with various marketing agencies and over 50 clients over the last 6 years. And so in my consultative approach, I naturally asked her, hey, how are you generating leads now? And how do you think you could generate more leads moving forward? And what she shared with me was that content is king. I'm sure we've all heard this before, but when you're working in the high end luxury real estate market, people want to see that, that your brand is, people want to see that your brand looks a certain way. And the best way that you can be doing that, other than showing up well presented yourself, is to have top notch video content online. So we're talking videos on social media, going out regularly. But the challenge that she's encountering with this is that it's a lot of work, right? It's a lot of work to make these videos. Some people, herself included, don't want to be behind the camera. Some don't want to be in front of the camera. And quite frankly, some don't want to pay exorbitant prices to have the best of the best videographers going out and recording custom content and then editing these videos, to keep putting them up on social media. And in her case, she's not just getting started, but for those real estate agents who might be tuning in, or just small business owners and entrepreneurs who are bootstrapping things and who might be listening in, it can take some time of posting content on social media before you start to build traction. And so to go out and to hire people, if you can afford it, that's great. But if you can't, then it makes it quite a high barrier to entry if you're not willing to be in front of or behind the camera yourself and to learn video editing. And so what we sought to solve is, how do we leverage artificial intelligence to be able to put out high quality content on a regular basis? And so that's what we're going to be talking about today. So, Kiro, you've had just over a week to rack your brain and think about, how can someone develop custom content for social media using artificial intelligence? And there's a couple caveats to this as well, right? One, this real estate agent who I was speaking with, she wanted to be able to just write a single prompt and from there have the rest taken care of, to have the video produced in multiple formats. So it could go on YouTube, it could go on YouTube Shorts, it could go on Reels, it could go on TikTok. So we're talking both horizontal and vertical outputs. And in addition to that, she also wanted content that was essentially custom. So here we're in Palm Beach, and there's a lot of high end real estate in the market on Palm Beach Island, as well as really nice restaurants. And people will move down to Palm Beach and pay very high prices for homes or apartments because of the lifestyle. And so a lot of the types of content that she'll look to be developing is lifestyle based content. What are the restaurants that you should be going to? What are the social events that you should be attending? And so the other challenge, as I saw it, and I'm really curious because, just for everybody listening, I don't know what Kiro's solution is. So I'm hearing it for the first time as you are. So I'm super intrigued to hear what you have, Kiro, because I struggle to imagine, as I imagine many of our listeners will be, a world where we can leverage AI to go and get content that a videographer might normally need to capture, like going in front of a restaurant and taking videos of the front of that restaurant, or maybe inside the restaurant to take it one step further, to be able to put together those really high-end custom videos. So walk us through the solution, break it down for us step by step. How did you go about solving this? How did you go about thinking about solving this first?
So, I mean, the first part, when we're thinking about AI, to kind of like a step back from any ideas we will start working on, it's from the data standpoint, right? Everybody knows, or who doesn't know, AI relies on data. The better the data, the better the AI would be, and the more the data, the better AI. So there's two components into when we say data: the quality and the quantity of it, right?
Mhm.
One without the other wouldn't work. So let's say if you have a very high quality data, but it's a very but it's a very less, AI wouldn't perform as well as you want it. And the same thing for the quantity as well. So just putting this concept out there, it will help us, through our work today together. So the second component we think about any kind of AI solutions, it's the purpose for it, and how much the work of human being do you need to put as an input, right? So let's explain this further. Let's talk about, like, let's say something like ChatGPT, right?
Mhm.
What makes ChatGPT it's an actual solution is that blow up in the market and everybody start using it because the utilizations of a human being in it, it's a very the input it's very small. Like it doesn't take much effort. You just put one word and the outcome comes. So the outcome way greater than the input, right? And we look at this, like if we put this, I don't want to get out of our solution today, but I'm trying to emphasize in this part. So when we explain it, um it will make it easier for our audience to go with it.
Yeah,
So this is the two main factors we look at: the input, if the output is greater than the input, if the outcome, what we're going to get out of it, is greater than the input, and the data quality once that we have, right? And you hear this
okay,
a lot. Probably now the word makes sense, and you hear all these platforms once they says like, oh, we're training on data, we're retuning on data, and you hear all those things around it. Now you know what it is
totally.
about.
Hmm.
So this is our first thought process about an AI solutions, regardless if the business already know what they want or not, or the idea or the idea it's valid or not. This is how we think about it, and then we go after this with a AI research. um, and then after AI research, we see if this idea is someone has thought of it before, because you'll be surprised. A lot of people have thought of whatever you're gonna think of in 10 years. So we look for research paper to kind of see who what's the latest update have ever done, an idea or related idea, or
Hmm.
related that ideas into it. And that will be the third step. And then the fourth step, what we do is we kind of see, like we'll go over the budget and how long it will take, and the kind of team members we need to put in out there, and we do like kind of cost and benefit, right? So let's say you can create a great tool, but it will cost you $200,000 to make. And then you maybe that already the out or the outcome, the financial outcome, it's only is gonna generate you 20,000, or it's gonna save you. It doesn't always have to be generate. It will save you 20,000, $30,000 a year. So it's important also to understand something like this before diving in. That would be the fourth step or the fifth step. And then after this, we start diving into more of the technologies that we're gonna implement, and put the roadmap for the solutions from A for into Z. That's like a kind of like a quick to give an understanding how we think about it. But obviously each step we go more in details and dive more into different aspects of it as well.
Sure. So I'm really intrigued by this part where you go and look at research papers to understand the latest and greatest solutions or research, not necessarily a solution, but just what's being found in the field by people that are out there coding and testing and doing all sorts of stuff like that. And so I love that you, when you're thinking about a solution, go out and see what's already being done, first of all, because we don't need to reinvent the wheel every time. That's inefficient and that's even more costly. So I like it from that standpoint. Um, and I also like that you said you look for tangential solutions, things that are not necessarily directly applicable, but indirectly helpful. I think that's tremendously valuable because that's easily overlooked, but could create tremendous value, when we're talking about these use cases. So I'm curious, have you found any research in regards to this issue that informed the solution that you're going to outline for us today?
That's a really good question. Actually, I did. Matter of fact, me and my team, which we're like we're prepping and sees. I mean, this idea kind of passed on me before, so people will ask for. So I already kind of had already resources for it.
Hmm.
Matter of fact, I executed different parts, and not exactly the same ideas we're talking about today, but I executed different parts on it on a different different businesses. That the outcome is kind of different, but the idea is the same. um so the research, most of the research paper about this topic, where we're talking about from text to a video, or a video or an AI video creations, to more like a journalized the topic itself, like how actually AI can create videos that relate to what we're trying to do with the minimum amount of effort, right? That's like the
Hmm.
kind of the general idea of what we're trying to do in here. So yes, there is a ton of research paper. It's mostly it's gonna be like in the movie productions. Um, that's where a lot of research paper being done. But there is a huge gap between the AI expertise and the industry specific expertise as well, right? And you see this across all industries. I know maybe that will be a questions for you later to we can emphasize on. But what you see in the research paper in this specific area is the like when AI thought of it to create like a movie editing tool or anything like that, it's utilizing so much AI to the point what we're talking about it right now. The input is greater than the output, and that's why one of the reasons we don't see it.
Mm.
um because now,
In
like,
other words,
movie.
if I may, um, are you saying that when you say the input is greater than the output, for us to get a good output, we have to put so much effort into what we're instructing or asking the artificial intelligence to do, that the benefit or outcome that we get from it does not make sense given the effort we have to put in. It's just easier to do it the old fashioned way to reach that
Exactly.
outcome. Okay.
Exactly. Great clarification. So if we put this in a scenario, like let's say in the movie industry, you'd be able to produce a whole movie based on AI, right? But the solutions out there in this specific part, it makes them to actually go shoot the movie and and maybe like do a couple of scenes that they do like graphic and things like that, way better than just the input they're gonna need, the documents they're gonna need to put to an AI to create, right? The
Mhm.
solutions with as you really explained it perfectly, it's not appealing enough for them to do. The
Mhm.
reasons for this is not that it's not that the AI cannot do it or the movie doesn't have enough data. It's just the lack of the AI expertise, and combining this with the movie production industry. There is a gap between both of them, right? And once this gap is closed, now you're seeing that the industry itself being revolutionized, right? Because who's creating the solutions or research paper? Just an AI expert, right? So it doesn't understand the amount of work that takes to write a script and do all whatever data the input what we're talking about is, right? But once
Mhm.
we do it, like once you put this once you put this two together, like the AI expert, the AI engineer with the movie production company or expert, whatever that could be, and you put
I
this
see.
together, now you can create a solution
So,
that start utilizing.
right. So that's the difference that you're talking about between the AI expertise and the industry specific expertise. And I think that we're seeing this in law as well, right? I think that we can all probably imagine a world in which artificial intelligence is going to be able to write contracts for most use cases. I mean, I know that you've used it to write contracts, I've used it to write contracts, and 9 times out of 10 for basic contracts like non-disclosure agreements or simple business agreements, it does the job. But I think
Hmm.
where we see that AI has not caught up with industry specific expertise, and where there's still that gap or that chasm, is that there are certain use cases where there are nuances. How do we interpret precedent in law that has already been set? How have judges interpreted certain things? How have juries interpreted certain things? And some of that is just not yet understood by the artificial intelligence large language models. And I think that in an industry like law, not to, I'll wrap it up here so that we can keep on the use case, but in an industry like law, for example, what I believe is that we're going to see the next generation of lawyers. One, there's going to be way less of them because there's going to be way less need for people actually generating contracts. Two, the lawyers that are going to make it, that exist today, and the lawyers that we're going to see coming out of schools tomorrow are going to need to have an understanding of AI, and they're going to be working with programmers hand in hand to train the models and fine tune them on all these nuances in law. And they're going to need to be continually updated as well as precedent is set in the courts. So I think it's really interesting to hear this same situation, which I've thought about, before, being applicable to movies as well, and to Hollywood, and then furthermore, how we generate content. So, are you saying that right now it looks like? Well, so I asked you, what does the research look like on content creation? And you said, well, a lot of the research papers are coming from Hollywood, but right now, because there is that gap between the AI engineering and the industry specific expertise of video creation, script writing, etc. Because of that gap, we don't necessarily have AI that's fully capable in some regards. And so I assume that where you were maybe going to go next is that is there some sort of limitation that you've encountered when it comes to content creation with artificial intelligence based on the research that's been done? And if there is, can you speak to that?
Yeah, I will simplify it in 2 points, right? To kind of because this is a very short questions, and so the 2 points would say data privacy and like kind of ownership. This is the two
Mhm.
things that stop industries that can benefit a lot from a research paper or from what you're talking about to exceed forward and let's say if you put it in the law, like how lawyers are using it, the reasons now you don't see a lot of transformer, even it's about AI. Literally it's about content creations, right? This is like the main idea of it. It can generate content regardless what the type of content that would be. It can absorb a lot of content and generate better content. That's the whole idea of the whole how the world works in general. The only thing some industries that cannot really move forward with it, it's two things: data privacy and ownership. And you top of this, it leads because the lack of understanding of how AI works, and also the lack of solutions. Right, most of the AI solutions they create, they don't know what data important, what's not. They don't know the difference between a financial statement, and they don't understand the difference between a testimonial from a client, from a lawyer. They don't understand that the actor, it doesn't want it to someone to replicate his face in 10,000 movies, and the actor doesn't understand he'll be able to own his privacy into this data. So because he never understood himself as a data, he thinks his skills it's for himself, not there is a whole different understanding of how we think of ourselves as well. It just
Sure.
and you put this in all in perspective. It just in perspective, it comes all the limitations you can even imagine. And you start
Hmm.
using it, like you start using it, what's happening slow. Like let's say for the past 5 years, you start seeing like movies like Mission Impossible. Instead of them, they hire someone that can do like like high jacking or is like car crashing or anything like that, to actually do it through an AI. You start seeing
Hmm.
this a lot recently. And but you don't see it on content creation. You don't see it in the way we're going to talk about it today, right?
Hmm.
Because what we're going to talk about today, it's a whole different game. This is where the future would be. This is not just a graphic edit. This is not just an edited tool that you will have to edit things for you. I'm talking about creations from 0 to 100. um so yeah, and that will be the only limitation we'll talk about today. Data privacy and ownership, and ownership of the data itself and the person that presented data, right? And either from the law firm that presented testimony for a client, or an actor that doing a movie, or a doctor that has a records, or you can or a financial advisor that have all the financial reports for his client. You put
Hmm.
this in everywhere, and you find this is why this is a big limitations for AI to move to start implementing certain industries.
Right. Yeah, it's certainly changing the landscape and how we need to think about things, for sure. So, all right, I'm really excited for us to dive into the solution. I know that there's definitely limitations. Why don't we start with the bad news, rip the band-aid off, and then let's talk about what we can do. So, what can't we do based on what our real estate agent here in Palm Beach County wants to be able to do with content creation and artificial intelligence? What's not going to work in this, and what she's asked for? Let's start there.
Okay. What's not gonna work? It's, I would say that the easy work, right? It's, as you understanding now, all of us have GGBT, right? And all about work with it. If we just put a simple input, a simple prompt, like I want to create a content for real estate, and this is the minimum you can do, right? So the minimum, regardless, wouldn't work, regardless how great the tool is. So it come on to the concept. It's not gonna save you, like especially in the case we're talking about it today. It's not that it's gonna save you the time or to do it. No, it's gonna make you more efficient you doing it, and it's gonna make the process so much easier. But the process is there. And to go back to the first thing, the data is important, right? In any type of way, and also the way of utilization of this tool important, right? So this part wouldn't do it for you because AI is not going to take over a human being, right? It's not like it cannot replace a human being, because it's always the input is going to be about us, how we can use this tool, right? So this is the bad news. It's not something that will you will write two prompts and then it will read your mind, and and get you the graphics, and get you the client, and get you the type of client, and get you the let's say the high net worth individual based on just how you're thinking. If you can put your thoughts in the world, it wouldn't work regardless what you trying to do. This is the bad news. And otherwise it's gonna be it's not gonna be useful, and everybody will be the same thing like ChatGPT. So this is the bad
Right.
news.
That's an interesting point that you just brought up there. And I want to come back to that everyone would kind of get the same solution if this were possible. So let's talk about content for a second, right? And we think about inputs, or as you're calling it, the data, right? And you're saying, AI is not replacing a human right now. That's just not where it's at. And so let's say we wanted to let's get even more granular with our use case. Let's say our real estate agent wanted to put out a piece of lifestyle content, a video for social media that was talking about the 5 trendiest restaurants on Palm Beach Island right now that you absolutely need to visit. Okay. what Let's talk about what that process would normally look like, and then let's talk about where AI can make the process more efficient. So, as I imagine it, normally our real estate agent would either need to herself go and record content at these restaurants, standing outside with her phone or professional camera, or standing inside, again, phone, professional camera, might even need permissions if it's inside, and then, or would need to hire someone who would do that, and then would need to take that raw footage and would have to edit it with some sort of video editing software, would have to maybe find music to go over it, would maybe need to create captions, so writing a script, maybe doing a voiceover herself or hiring someone to do a voiceover, um, or maybe no voiceover, again, just music and captions. And then we need to go ahead and actually manually publish this on XYZ platforms and make sure that the format of the content is correct based on the different sizes for each platform, right? Some are 16:9 aspect ratio, and other platforms are completely different if they're horizontal. So that's what the process, as I see it, would normally look like. Let's just stop there and let me know if you see the process any differently from a today standpoint.
No, that's exactly right. This is exactly the process, from you generating content, either for yourself or for your business or for anything else. That's exactly, you broke it down very, very well. So yeah, so this is simply the process, So what basically we're trying to do is to just minimize the hustle, trying to put 2 words in, it comes out a video that we want, right? So it's, and you considering, like the features in the video for the place, excluding all the other things in the middle that would be relying on the 2 words we put in the input, right? This is like the kind of the ultimate, right? This is like when you it's like literally like you think about it, all the specifications that could in the video, like the things you would like in the video, because you're not just gonna record everything. You're gonna record the specific things that that's relevant to what you're trying to do, right? And then you gonna write the script that's relevant to what you're trying to do. So you're trying to minimize all of this into 2 words, right? And suppose AI do the magic. um the good news in that, yes, with the method what we're gonna say today, yes, you can do that. But it's also, we also wanted to understand one things. The less work we want to put in, either the more money we wanted to invest, or um or the amount of work. So there is nothing in this world for free, right? So
Isn't that
either
true?
yeah, so if we don't want to put a lot of time, we need to put money, right? It just, especially if you're building a business, there's no way around it. So either you're gonna spend the time to do something, or you're gonna spend the money,
Hmm.
right? And this is the fundamental of being a business owner. And then you lay on it the utilizations of data and everything else, and now the pictures start getting clearer what we got.
Right.
um and then we go into the second layer, right? Which is let's actually, I'm willing to break down the technologies today. So you just, you kind of let me know when you want me to dive in.
Sure.
So I will share the technologies itself that could be used. We talk about how we can actually use it. So you can just lead and let me know when we can dive into this. But yeah, to go back to the same point. Yes, this is something possible, and this is will be the good news. You ask for this something possible to put 2 3 words in, and the output would be something in the same effort you have put in with the 2 words, right? So it's not gonna
Hmm.
be it's not gonna be equivalent to other, if you put a whole script or specifications of what you're looking for. It can be, right? Because this person who have put the input, they put more work in it, they put more thoughts in it. And you put this on, instead of put words, I put like videos in it, and I put image, and you can scale it as you go, right? So the person who put this amount of data is not the same person who put 2 words in.
Hmm. And just to
um
be clear, and I think it's good that you're using the absolute extreme, but our use case today is not necessarily focused on just 2 words. It could be a paragraph of a prompt, right? So a little bit more context, but I think the point that you're making still stands, that the more detailed of an input you give the artificial intelligence, the better an output you're going to get. And would like to dive into the solution. Just before we do that, though, you brought up a really good point before, which is that if we could just put in a paragraph that said, "Give me the five, create a video for me detailing the 5 trendiest restaurants on Palm Beach Island." If you did that on one platform and I did that on the same platform, talk to me about the issue.
yeah, so one of the things AI is really good at is it cannot generate the same thing twice, right? So this is not something, it'll be similar to what it being said or what it being created. um but it would never be the same.
Hmm.
It wouldn't be 100% the same. Maybe it'll be 90%, 80%, 50%. It depends on the amount of informations, the AI tool you having. And you can try this even on your own. Go use any kind of image creator, or go use any chat gpt and ask questions on different platforms. You will find it similar, but you wouldn't find 100% accuracy, and that shows you something, right? It's just, even if there is a slight difference between both of them, and if it's like 99% the accuracy, it's still that 0.1%. It shows you that AI is not capable of, if you lit it, because it's based on content creation and it has the ultimate, I would say, mind for content creation. So there's no point for it to to generate the same thing twice. And there is actually a research and a test. I would say it wasn't even research, but it was kind of research and a test environment that implemented on language models. And it's one of the stages the language models need to go to. So basically, simply, you keep asking the same questions for a language model. Can even you can try on your own, and you can,
Hmm.
someone else keep asking the same questions on the same chat history multiple times, multiple times, multiple times, multiple times. And what they have found is, after multiple of times, the language model get exhausted by answering the same question, not even saying the same thing, by answering the same question, it got exhausted. It got to the point. It's like I cannot do this anymore, right? And it's kind of like, oh, like this is weird. This is like how it understand. This is like a very tedious process I'm going through right now. It's like it got to the point I'm not gonna answer anymore, you know.
Right.
And it was kind of creepy for a lot of people, but that's what you've done, and now they understand the capability of the language models and what they can do. And put this in perspective to your question or the statement you would be mentioned. Yes, it doesn't generate the same thing, so there is no worrying about everybody doing the same thing, but the quality will be the same. You know, it goes back to the same thing, right? It's the better you put in, the better the output. The better the input, the better the output. And it's infinite, right? And this is the race. So the race is not going to be about the tool. The race is going to be about the amount of data you have in, right? So let's say if you're an actor or a real estate agent, if you have a previous data that you've been already doing for the past 10 years, right? From videos to text to anything like that, or you're an actor, you have done 10,000 movies, you're not going to be the same thing like an actor or a real estate agent that started yesterday and never created a video before.
Right. Right.
Because the input for this will be a greater than what, and it's infinite, right? And you put this, it's infinite. You put this someone like, Tony Robbins, the amount of data, he does seminars every single day. He has more digital forms, from things he say to think. It's infinite amount of possibilities that you can add in the input, right? And that makes him, nobody will steal him, but obviously there is a gap between him, Tony Robbins, as himself understanding what y'all can do. There's like, I'm not gonna let someone steal my stuff. So you put this, like nobody now can compete because everybody gonna have their own persona and their own data. So it's not about the tool, it's about the input. Until today is tomorrow. Today or tomorrow, someone will create the tool on a subscription base that goes down to $20, right? So it's focusing, practicing the input. I think it's the greatest thing you can do. Working on if you want to utilize any kind of AI tool.
Okay, so let's talk about the solution. Right. So we know now what the limitations are. We know that you're only going to get as good an output as you give it input. We know that unless you have custom content that you're feeding it, you're going to get a fairly similar video to somebody else who's also not putting their own custom content into the AI. Let's talk about the solution. What can we do as a real estate agent or as a small business owner in another vertical to create custom content for social media on Autopilot?
All right. So I like to, when I dive in, I like to put like a kind of I'll put like a technical term, right? That will clarify what I'm about to say and make it make sense.
Okay.
Right? What are videos? Videos are pictures. What are pictures? Pictures are pixels. What are pixels? The numbers. So if you can create, so with numbers you can create videos. Okay, so just kind of with the other things I've been talking about, just keep this in mind while we're explaining the solution. And so let's go over it simply with the tools, what we actually using today that the average person can go, and then we can dive into deeper based on your questions, the things we can talk about.
Okay.
So the first thing, if we want to prompt, the first thing what we, as logically, we need to, from the prompt we put in, if we want to create a video, that we need to create a script, right? This is the first step.
Right?
In
other words, what's the video going to look like start to finish? What's scene 1? What's scene 2, scene 3?
Yeah, I mean, so there is the video and there is, like, let's say I was even thinking about it, not even with less effort. I was talking about I'll talking about literally just you put 5 words in and you come up with a video.
Okay, that so 5 trendiest restaurants in Palm Beach Island.
That's basically it. That's the case scenario. I want to lose the lowest possible, and everybody can emphasize as they go.
Right. Okay.
So if you use the same example, the top 5 restaurants in West Palm, right? So the first thing we want to do on this from a content creation standpoint or marketing is to create a script with it, like what, how, like from like what is the video is gonna say, right? Is
Hmm.
it gonna be like what is gonna be say about like food? Is gonna be about numbers? Is gonna be, and then we create that script. So the first step to create a script easily is the best content creation tool what we have right now, ChatGPT,
Hmm.
right? And then from the script what we're gonna do is we want to based on the script we want to create videos and we want to create a voiceover based on the script. We want someone that says the script and we want visuals that present the script itself,
Hmm.
correct? and
Hmm.
then and then we want another things that combine the visuals that being created with the voiceover that we have created together and do the
Right.
edits and do whatever is needed. And
Right.
then maybe an extra step off it, which is gonna be the render of the platform that we're gonna post on. So
Right.
let's say we're gonna render on YouTube, is gonna render video being based on YouTube. And then if you want to do whatever TikTok, you can render this going to this platform. And then the last step would be and it automatically would be on a schedules that post it to the social medias on the renders you have set it on.
Hmm. So at
So
that
from
point, we're not
you,
even talking AI. We're talking just a simple automation tool like Later or Tailwind or any number of other Hootsuite. There's a number of them.
yeah, I mean, I'm talking. I was like, when I was thinking about it, I was like thinking about the ultimate goal of it to put 2 words and just let it run for the next, for the next
Right.
month, generating content for you endlessly. This is,
Right.
like this is like obviously, this is the most extreme scenario, but this is something possible, and I can say right now we'll go over it. How is it's possible, but this is the process, right? It's just simply to create
Hmm.
from one sentence. You want to create a script, and then from the script you want to create visuals, you want to create voiceover, and then you want all the tool to put these 2 things together and make it nice. And then you wanted to resize it and render it into the platform to post, and then it posts by itself, and
Right.
then it just posts by itself for the whole month. This is the
All
ultimate,
right.
right?
All right. How do we do it?
All right, so for each component when we talk about it today, and that's why I break it down into component. For each component there is a tool out there that can do it,
Hmm.
right? So the first component for it to create a script, ChatGPT, right? There is nothing better than ChatGPT to create it. And
And are we
then for the
talking
second,
free plan or are we talking paid plan, in your opinion?
um I'm not sure if there's a platforms out there that can do what I'm talking about, but I'm pretty sure in the movie productions there is one tool I'd be able to put the link for that they can use, and it's cheap. But
Okay.
but to go back what you're saying, those technologies what I'm talking about is it's existing. So they don't need like something like ChatGPT. They don't need to create the tool. The
Hmm.
tool is already there. What they
Right.
might need to do is it just kind of putting together into their own use, right? Which is not, it's not like they're gonna build their own app, their own technology. These just because nobody ever thought about this process we're talking about it today. So in order for me to do it, I need to put those, like I just now I'm gonna tell you the technology. All you need to do is just put these technologies together, and I can also
Right.
emphasize in this if it's needed at the end.
Right.
Um, so the first
So
technology. Go ahead.
sorry, real quick, just to interject here. There's a preliminary question, which is, or it's kind of like the way you're thinking about it is, what's the action we need to take first, right? So we need to generate a script. How do we go about doing that? Okay, we need a tool to generate this. Does that tool exist? Right? Because there might be use cases where we're talking about something that is possible but doesn't exist yet. In this case, we have large language models such as ChatGPT or Gemini or Claude or Sonnet or whatever that can generate a script for us based on a prompt. So in this case, we don't have to generate, we don't need to create a tool to generate this. It already exists. So check, that's a win because that's going to be infinitely cheaper than building something ourselves. for just this
100%.
part of the process. Okay, so
Correct.
let's go to part of the process number 2.
Which is after now we have the script, what we need to do is we need to create visuals and we need to create voiceover,
Mm-hmm.
right? And then how we can create, which one you want to start with? You start with voiceover or the visuals?
Let's start with the visuals.
Okay, so with the visuals, there is so there is a library called Spacey or KidNote. I can also put all these resources. So it's
Mm-hmm.
so this what is it does is you give it the script of what you're trying to do, and then
Mm-hmm.
extract the needed keywords to create pixels that will lead to videos. You remember what I have mentioned before?
Yes.
Videos are pictures, pictures are pixels, pixels are numbers. So there
Yes.
is a specific library that we can utilize to extract from the script the needed keywords to create visuals or to create pixels that will lead to great videos, which is a tool like it's also and you combine this with a tool like like Dell or there is multiple like or Midjourney, or you combine this library to extract keywords with a tool that already exists, like Dell from ChatGPT, or you got Gemini picture or something like that. You got multiple language model that create. You choose which one of them based on what you created on. You want to create like animation, or you got to know your research, what type of content
Right.
you're looking for, and
Right.
then you
Now,
put this. Go ahead.
in the case where that content doesn't exist though on a platform or can't be made, let's say you're not looking for an animation. So to come back to our example, we're looking for the video of a restaurant on Palm Beach Island. In that
Okay,
case, what do we have to do?
that's a good question. So so it goes back to now we're changing the tool. Instead of we're gonna do Spacey, we're gonna use something like an ID. Let me actually search this tools. I'm gonna put all these resources too. I'm gonna
Perfect.
send it to you, and then so everybody can check it out after. Mm. All right, so you got like Runaway, or you got Adobe Free Fly. This is two tools. What you can do is you can find enough content that you want to try to create basically, and go to use one of these models. Like I like Lab a lot. So there is something called Labs, which is you can give them the data you have. So let's say if you have a data of restaurants you already have, or even you can scrap it from Google, like pictures or so let's say if you want to do a post bomb, right? You're gonna go on Google, research restaurants, right? And West Palm restaurants that has the same thing, or maybe you can do it even Gemini. It will give you the list, or a tool like
Mm-hmm.
Pixility. You can put actually the prompt, and it gives you all the restaurants that align with the prompt you have, and then you can scrap all this data, which is going to be include pictures, it's going to be include scripts, it's going to be including everything that it's enough to train your own data set. So instead of something like Dal or Midjourney, you already have the data that create this one. You're gonna retune, which is it's something all you need to do is you rent Access GPU, which is very very cheap, and you basically just give the data to the technology itself. And now instead of you do the same thing like Spacey, the tool I'm saying about extracting the keywords from the script, and instead of you sending these keywords to DAL or Gemini or any kind of video creations or image creations tool, you send it to your own tuning models into it, and now you're creating videos based on the model from the model you have. And sometimes even it's cheaper than you send it to Dell, by the way, to do this, because you getting your own data.
So this is going to scrape existing photos on the web related to this restaurant. So maybe images that people took when they were at the restaurant eating a certain dish and they posted it on Yelp, or they posted it on Google My Business, or it's coming from the restaurant's website. Is that right?
Correct. And I'm saying this part in extreme in case if someone doesn't have the data. But if you are real estate and been doing it for like for let's say for the past 10 years, you already
Hmm.
have videos on your phone for the things you want. You already have data on your phone that you can utilize. But I'm putting this case as an extreme in case of someone start yesterday. I'm saying like I'm gonna explain everything from zero. Someone in real estate
Right.
start today, how can compete in content generation? So it's this is the
Right.
things, but you can eliminate the data. It's a mind game. You can implement that. You can eliminate the data part if you have your own data.
Now, the quality of the data, let's say we don't have our own data, right? Even if we've been a real estate agent for 10 years, but we haven't been capturing our own data outside of homes, but now we want to post more lifestyle oriented content. And we have and we have this idea of creating a post for restaurants or on the topic of restaurants. Um, the quality of that data, the quality of the images or the video that we're going to end up having in our output is reliant on the quality of what already exists online. So if someone took a picture and it was blurry and they posted it on Yelp, but it's maybe the only picture that the tool was able to scrape for that restaurant, then our video is going to the quality of our video is going to be limited, visually speaking, to the quality of that image that somebody took. Is that right?
That's partially true because I would say you don't train it on one picture. It get the concept. It doesn't as we like would be like as we mentioned before. AI is not good about duplications. AI is good about creations. So it's so you give it enough data to understand the concept of what you're trying to do and give it room to generate. And that's why accuracy in machine learning. That's why when you do a machine learning, we'll go with accuracy. We don't like we don't go with how well this two together how well the similarity. We go with accuracy, right? And so from one picture we didn't know, but your point is I just wanted to take this out of the way. But your point, it's the portion in it is true. Yes, if the data is it's not good, the output is not going to be good. But
Hmm.
in this case, if you're scrapping if you're scrapping data from like let's say from like Google, the quality of the data is going to be related to the quality of the business you do. I've been scrapping data, it's public data for a certain amount of time, and I understand this part of it. The quality of data is the same thing the quality of your work. So let's say if you're
Hmm.
scrapping data from a high end restaurants, the data of this high end restaurants would be relevant to the people you're doing. If you are like scrapping data for taco truck, let's say, the data would be
Hmm.
relevant to your audience. um so
Right.
it's you got what I'm saying. So it's that's what I have found for me finding public data.
Right. And if there's not enough public data, then what you're saying is as long as the AI has maybe just enough to understand what you're looking for, then it can go ahead and create um, photos or videos that look similar.
Correct.
So that's interesting because in the case where someone doesn't have time or doesn't want to go and spend the time to capture custom content of that restaurant, they might be able to get very similar looking content, maybe of food, um, without needing to go and visit the restaurant. I think it's potentially risky because there is room for misrepresentation of what meals might be, just to stick with the restaurant analogy,
Uh-huh.
or misrepresentation of what the interior decor looks like or what the exterior looks like. But it is intriguing, I think, in some use cases that can be relevant if we're not talking about restaurants, for instance. Now, for those cases where there is enough content online to scrape, how does this work with copyright?
So I mean, it depends on what you're trying to do and who you're doing it for and the purpose of the video, right? And
Hmm.
if let's say if you're making a video of a restaurant that you're gonna increase the revenue, the restaurant wouldn't mind, right? Because it's in their own benefit. But let's say if you're using their data to for your own purpose, has nothing to do with them. obviously this is, this is not good. So it's really comes out to the point where how you're gonna utilize this data, and if it's gonna be with with the consent of the person you're gonna use their data. And also let me clarify this part. The importance, I feel like we went out of track in this area, and I just wanted to clarify to our audience. um the reasons you giving this data, it's not to create data for the same restaurant, it's to create content that it can help you to promote yourself as a real estate, right? So it's not like let's say you went to tacos Palm Beach to generate content for Palm Beach, right? That's very irrelevant, because you can't take the patient create the content. It's a very, now that what we're talking about, the input, is way less than the grade of the output. You're not going to do through this hustle if you want to create something that already exists. What you want to do is you want to, based on based on the use cases, what I would do is I would take all this content to create and make sure I stay in the real estate, have enough content of real restaurants without names, but real restaurant and real content that will help you to promote my business. Not on a specific restaurant, right? Because you want to use this data to create
I hear
content.
what you're saying, but hear me out. I'm a real estate agent. I'm not actually, for the record, but let's say I was a real estate agent. And part of my value to my clientele is that I'm giving them tips on restaurants, on things to do. I'm going to be naming specific restaurants, right? I'm not just going to say, hey, by the way, Palm Beach, it has great restaurants. You should totally check them out and spend $35 million on a home here, right? We want to give specific examples. You should go to Emoto. You should go to, um, the Colony Hotel. You should go to XYZ places. And we want to ideally be showing content that resembles or is of those places specifically.
Yeah, I mean, in the use cases like this, you can, it's gonna be about how you're gonna prompt it, right? Either you wanna, like, you wanna put five content, and now like whatever they have in the website, you can just present the same way. It's even easier to do, right? Because now we have their you don't need to come up with something new. All you need to do is just putting the video together, which is make the process even easier. That's how the place look like, their name and their Google look, and now we're just gonna create different things. I think this is the part of they're gonna need to see how they're gonna prompt it, how they're gonna use it, because content, if you're generating every day a single content, you're gonna have to do everything. You're gonna do, generating similar content. You wanna, it's just gonna do everything basically. Um, the good part is you don't have to do anything, because all the content created, you choose what's good and you put it back in the system, and now refine it even more. So the more you go, the more we understand what you're trying to do, right? And the more
Mm.
you would do it. So let's say if you like this type of content, you will keep feeding it back as like this content, and the more you generate content, the more data you will have, the better this machine will get. Um, so, and
Okay.
this is like the end goal, this is the end goal. As a start, you're gonna have, a bunch of different content that you need to, kind of narrow it down to what, and that's what you need at first to know what your target audience actually like. So you can have
Sure.
a variety of things that you can put in the market from different type of ways, and then whatever you like, you keep this, and whatever you like, you feed it back into the system, which is a system. It's upload system. I'm not want to say what systems people think it's gonna be like crazy system. No, it's literally you buy a GPU and it already has a machine on it, a technology machine, like a model on it. That all you need to do is just upload the documents, what you're trying to refine your model, retune the model is. um
Hmm.
and yeah, and that would be the part of creating, that I would say the pixels that will lead to the image that will lead to the videos.
Right. So you want to have very specific keywords, or you want to have keywords that are going to be specific enough to help the AI understand the types of content that it should be scraping or creating, right? And so
Yeah.
if you could just speak for a moment, like how does one go about making sure that those words make it into their prompt?
Yeah, so this is why I mentioned to use a tool like Spacey.
Hmm.
This tool is based on pick up keywords from script that will make a good video. That will it just This is not any keywords. This is not just to understand what's the script say. This tool specifically pick up keywords that good for video creations. So if you put a good
Hmm.
prompt will transfer the good script, and then a good script will be transformed to good keywords. Regardless what these keywords will go, either gonna go to Dell to generate whatever whatever you want from it, or it's gonna go to into your model, into your videos, and generate something good from it.
Okay.
So it's not from the
All right.
script to the
Cool.
video. It's a script. It's from the script. Extract keywords in space, and it's a free library, by the way. So there's no cost for it. So all the process till now, what we have talked about, it's I would say the only thing you're gonna need to rent a GPU. Otherwise, you have a local server that will take it. But most of the people they're gonna do a GPU, um, which is you're talking about $80-$90 a month. Um,
Hmm.
that's
To
the
rent it.
most for to rent it. Yeah, to rent it
Yeah.
monthly. But everything else I have said it's for free.
Okay. Now let's move on to the voiceover part, right? So now we've got a script. We've used Spacey to extract certain keywords. We fed the keywords to a platform that's going to help us generate videos and images. And now we have a voiceover. Now we want to get a voiceover if we're not going to, again, going back to we're doing as little as possible. So we don't need to sit in front of a microphone. We don't need to say a word. We have AI voices now through platforms like Synesthesia and a whole number of others. And so let's talk about that part.
Yeah, I mean this part would be very similar to the video part, but instead of you sending this to the platform, obviously the script you didn't need to extract any keywords from it, so you will send the script to, I would say, my favorite tool in the voice is text to speech, Google. So Google text to speech. You send it. You send them, and then you choose the voice. You go to and you create your own account and text to speech Google platform. You create your own account. You choose the voice that you want it, or you can choose multiple ones that will kind of rotate on the content, and that would be the part. Then that voice would be sent back, and now you having on your server. So now you have the videos from whatever your platform you decided to go with, and now you have
Hmm.
your voice and text, and
And so
same
that's a
idea.
free tool. Yeah, the Google Voice.
Yeah,
Okay,
I mean at a certain point it's free, but obviously like anything else, like the more you use it,
right.
the more it will have a certain limitations. And also I wanted to emphasize on something important this part. Same thing you have done for the videos, you can also retune your voice. You also have the ability that you can upload, like let's say if you have your voice, or there's someone's voice you even like, and you have enough data from it that you can help text to speech Google to make it sound the same. You can upload this data, same idea. You can upload this data, and now it's gonna sound similar, and you can put instructions into it and things
Right.
into it that will make it better. Sounds the way you want it.
So I'd like to introduce an idea here because there are platforms. I believe Synthesia or Synesthesia is one of them. And to your point, if you have enough of your own voice data, which if you don't have it already, you can probably sit down in front of a microphone and record yourself speaking for 5 continuous minutes. And that's very easy to do. You don't have to think about things to say for 5 minutes off the cuff or off the top
Hmm.
of your head. You can just go to ChatGPT and say, write me a 5,000 word whatever, and just start reading it out loud. It doesn't matter.
Yes.
And so now, once this platform has enough data of your voice being spoken, it can then make your voice say whatever. It understands your inflection, understands your tonality, understands how you say some things like this and other things like that. And so, what I want to introduce though is not just the voice part, but for those of you out there who are listening who say, you know, I would love to be behind the camera. I just don't want to spend the time doing it. You can go to a platform like Synthesia and you can then duplicate yourself. Okay, it's called a digital twin. And so now instead of just recording your voice, you might sit down in front of your webcam, just like Kiro and I are here, or you might stand up and have someone record you, or put your phone on a tripod. All you have to do is record yourself for 10 continuous minutes, and it will basically make a whole duplicate of you. And now you can type, and this thing will speak just like you would. And so you can make videos that look like you saying whatever, talking about those 5 restaurants or talking about the latest and greatest this or that. And then you can even take that content if you don't want it to be just you on camera for the whole video, and you can add it to the mix into this process that we're talking about. And now it's you and some visual content to help break it up of the
That
restaurant
that's
or
a great
whatever.
way to think about it. That's exactly, and I feel this is where we're gonna go. I don't want to dive more into this because maybe we can talk about this and after we're done with it, because there's so much into what you just said right now. And there is a lot of experiments in this area nowadays. Maybe we can even leave this to a different episode, but there's so many experiments, and I think the audience would be stunning, like astonished to actually go over this subject, because a lot of people are saying, like, AI will, well, how are we gonna know between, if if this is an AI or this is a real human, and what's actually the benefit? What you mentioned, it's a great benefit, like, of, if we do this. um but yeah, this is exactly the way to do it. In this specific step, what we have talked about, this is exactly the way to do it. In this specific step, what we're creating content, this is exactly what you need to replace this part for Synthesia, or or the idea,
There's
or
another one,
anywhere it's on.
Delphi.
Okay.
Delphi makes
Okay.
really good digital twins where you can clone yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. Or you can just go to hardcore and just go to create it by itself, and do your own data and machine learning, and do it. But it wouldn't be point to do it if there's really a tool out there that can do it. And based on my knowledge, they're really expensive too. They're
Right.
very affordable.
Right. So, okay. So now we've covered, I would say, the video creation portion. We've given the listeners here a handful of tools that they can use to duplicate themselves so that they can just type what they want themselves to say without needing to record themselves every time. All they need to do is spend 10 minutes one time to do this. And then the other option is, tools to scrape content that is exactly what they're looking for, similar to what they're looking for. And then, of course, we also have tools that
And
can
there is a
create
tool, yeah. There is a tool for scrapping. It's called scrapping.ai, I guess, something like that. I'm gonna put also the resources for it. So if you want to really
Okay.
scrap data, you can just use this tool and scrap data. So everything is really available. Just whoever is gonna do the work first.
Perfect. So now we've got a script, right? We have we've extracted the keywords. We've taken those keywords and we put them into a platform like scraping.ai that's going to go get us video or photo that exists for this restaurant or this hotel or whatever it is that we're showcasing. If there's anything available. If not, we can also create a digital twin of ourselves. But whatever the case may be, we have our script, we have content, we have our voiceover. What's next?
And then we need to put this together, right? It just, now you have, like, you have your local host or the GPU, you have rent it. Now you have this data, you have the voiceover and you have the video. You need to put this together. You need to make sure they're aligned. And there is a tool that I've been using also. It's a library, not tool. It's a command tool. It's not a library. It's not a tool. It's a command tool. It's
What does that mean?
also for, so a command tool. It's something you can use, like, in the Python language. So Python as a language has multiple libraries. You don't need to write all the code, and that's why make Python is the number one language for AI. So you don't need to write all the code because it's open source, and there's other people have done other works in the code, and all you need to do is just call their tool, because it's an open source. You just need to download their library of the work they have done on
So
it.
make it
Does that
even
make sense?
simpler. Make it even simpler for someone. Hey, ChatGPT, please describe this for someone who's in first grade.
Okay, so let's put this in easier. So in order for you to create any tool, you need to write code, right? You
Okay.
need to write a code. The number one language for AI is Python. This is the main language for AI. The
And language is
reason,
code,
yeah, the
right?
code language, correct.
Like saying the
The
alphabet.
Yes, exactly. The alphabet for us to speak English, it's A B C D. The same thing to create a tool. It's the same thing. It's Python, called Python. Instead of alphabet, it's
Okay.
called Python,
Okay.
right? What
Perfect.
makes this tool is good because it's an open source tool. What does it mean open source tool? That you there is some peoples out there that write code and leave it for other people that continue improving it.
Okay.
So I'll be able to call different libraries that already someone else already have right on this specific subject enough,
Mm-hmm.
right? So I don't have to start from zero.
Okay.
So in this case, what we're talking about, there is a command tool. It's not like it's a command tool. It's called fmpg. It's not something directly on Python, but you can install it on your environment, on your code environment. And then once you install it, what does it actually can do is it understand videos and understand speech very well, and can put them together. And this is the same tool, editors like Adobe Player, like big platforms, and like a lot of like movies using it to create graphics. They're using it. This tool has been out there for decades. So
Okay.
it's
So this is a
very, very
popular
mature.
tool that someone like me who uses mostly ChatGPT might not know about, but someone like you who's reading the research as to what's being done in artificial intelligence and who works with code and has a team of coders understands. And so you can open the command function on your computer, and then you can download this Python script or program that someone else made. It's just sort of like it's like an underground is not the right word, but it's not going to look like a fancy website up front. Right? It's going to look like a bunch of code, but if you understand how to use it, then it's actually an incredibly powerful tool that can take your text, like your script, and it can take your video and it can merge it together very well, more effectively,
Correct.
let's say, than tools that might look nice and have a subscription and a website, but don't necessarily work as well.
Yeah, and there's tools actually that can put the video for you. But as I promised for this video, I'm gonna make it cheap, and I'm gonna make it that someone can create what we're talking about today with a
Okay.
minimum amount. So it's like I was saying, like it's from 2 prompts. We're trying to make it free. It's like we say like a minimum amount of prompts at first. We're trying to make it as free as possible. So everything I'm saying right now is I'm doing it for people. And otherwise, do you want to pay more? As I say, like the more money, like if you don't want to use the tool, you want to pay more. Yes, you can use Adobe Player, and you can use different platforms that you can create an API to and put the videos well together for you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, but what I'm talking about, this is the tool these platforms are using,
Mm-hmm.
as you been mentioned. So and it's not really hard because, as I say, the code is already there, so you don't need really to write code. And if you ask a programmer to do it, it can really finish it for you in a day. Instead of you paying subscriptions for the infinite, you just pay for it one time. Let's say if you don't want to even mess with the code, just tell someone to really download it and make you even an interface that's an upload button, or you can integrate it with an API. I can talk later about how can you all put together.
Yeah, that's where I was going to go next. But I also have a question about captions. So this program that you're talking about can merge the voice and it can merge the video intelligently. But a lot of
And
videos that we see
edits.
on social media, right, and
And
edits, so it can make the cutscenes. But a lot of videos have captions. Now, some platforms will do the captions for you using AI, like Instagram. But if we're automating the process so that you don't have to go in manually to Instagram, then how are we getting captions into this video environment if we want
so there's
in
the
an
same thing
automated
in,
fashion?
in, in the same library. It's a huge. I'm sorry. The same command tool. It's a huge command tool. So there is a bunch of lines there that you can use from like captions. You can be very specific with the edits. You can be specific with the edit style. imagine using like Adobe Player for edits, right? There is like the colors, there is everything you see in Adobe. Basically, you can use it in FMVG.
In
Um,
Adobe, you're saying?
yeah, yeah, in Adobe, yeah.
Cool.
So the same, the same like features you have, you also can be do it like from like captions, like colors, like how you edit you want it to be. So you'll be able to put all those things into this in this tool command, in this command tool, and it gives you the results you want. Anything about editing, putting videos together, whatever that could be, captions and rotations and colors and whatever you want that you have in a tool that you have in your phone, the most likely to using the FMG, the command tool I'm talking about. So this is also can be included in this specific step.
Okay. And so then now that we have our video crafted, um, it would get posted. But do you imagine that in this process, someone is going to manually review the video to make sure that it's good before it gets posted? Or should it just go straight up?
I mean, it goes back to the middle part, right? And this questions I can't answer it. I'll probably everyone gonna answer for themselves, which is
Hmm.
gonna be the middle part. Is I'm the one who's putting the data, or I'm like relying or Dal, or what's the I know the kind of stuff I put in, so it's clear to me. If I put 10,000, so let's say if we're doing using your example, if I spend 10 hours of my life creating videos, like like someone like Tony Robbins or whoever, just an example that we've been talking
Hmm.
about, I have already a ton of data. If I start training a model on it, I don't need even to second check it, because after me a week to building this, it's gonna be efficient. Same thing for
Right.
the second option we have put in from scrapping data. If I scrap Google data, LinkedIn data, if I put so much work onto scrapping the data, make sure the data is good, maybe do some data features in it and make sure this data is on point, the quality will come out great. And let's say for the other option too, if I don't want to do any kind of data mining, or data scrapping or any kind of, I don't want to mess with all of that. I just want to make doll or the other, like the video creations or the picture the image creations tool to do it. The outcome will be irrelevant. But in all three cases, either I don't want to mine data at all, or I want to mine my own data, or I have data that present already what I do. In either of the cases, refining this model is important. Putting in the system this data back, the choosing data, by time it will gets it better. So even if you start from zero and just using doll or using any other image, and you have zero data point to start with, you can start building your own data. And I do this with a lot of clients that comes to me, they don't have any data, and the type of data they're looking for, it's not public, and I cannot get it. So the only way you can do it is start generating your own data. By doing so, you start generating your own data,
Hmm.
and you do data featuring on it, and you cleaning the data, do some machine learning, and you come up with better data. You put it back in the algorithm, you put it back in the system, and just you give it months or 2 or 3. Now you're building the machine. You give it 2 years, you give it 3 years. Now you're gonna be in the head of industry. Now you be in real estate. Now you have a machine. You have a golden mining machine.
Hmm.
You
Yeah.
know, and
Yeah. I mean, the power of working with a model for long enough that it starts to become like a second brain for you is immensely powerful. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, and you see,
So,
and you see, this all free tools. Like,
yeah. Well, I think this is a really cool solution. My only concern now, and I'm pretending that it's a concern because I know that you've already thought about it, but my only concern is how can I, let's say, do this once and then set it up so that it just goes on autopilot. All I have to do is give it an idea, and then it takes it all the way through to posting, or maybe a manual review and then a post.
so is your question how to put it together?
Correct.
Is
How do
that
we take every step of this process and create automation?
all right? So for each tool I have, we had mentioned today, it could be all this process automated. APIs is each tool we have spoken about today has an API that can
Right.
move you to the next step. What an
Can you
API
just
is.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's what I was going to ask.
Okay. So what's to simplify the term, API is basically a kind of permission the platform, give it to another platform or give it to you, that you can use something on your platform. So you see this, like,
Mhm.
let's say platform like Facebook, right? It has two different types of API. Either you can take the data, like let's say your marketing data, like how many users you have, how many likes you have. They give you an API that can give you access on this data in real time.
Mhm.
This is the type one. The
Basically,
type two,
anything that's on the platform, you can call out of the platform. You can say, "Hey, platform, I want this video, that image, that data point. Send it to me," so to speak,
yes,
and it passes it
exactly,
through a tunnel into another
exactly.
platform.
That's exactly right. And then there's the second type of API that allows you to do certain things on the platform. It opens certain features for you that give you control to do it. And you see this also if we're using the same example, like Facebook. You see different platforms that can post, can do automated likes, can follow people, can do certain things that happen on the platform and give you the control to do it outside the platform. So it could
Mhm.
be a data utilizations, or it could be also a feature utilization.
Okay. So now we're using APIs to weave together these platforms. Is that right?
Yes, correct. So you kind of tape it all together with an API. You're just like, okay, you put this in API with this API, you put this in API. So let's say from the first one, ChatGPT already have an API that when you send the prompt, it comes back to you the script, right? And then once you have the script, you create a different API that, before the API, you firstly, for the video, you do the extract keywords through a space. So it's a library. You just it runs through this library, and then from the library comes in the keywords. You send, you prompt, you API this keywords to whatever platform, either your server or Dell, or is it your image, whatever the three options we have mentioned today, and it comes back to the video. Same thing for the voiceover. You do an API from text to Google text to speech or 11 Lab to your voice. You send them the script through an API. It comes back a voice, and that's all you need to do. So it's basically just doing APIs, just connecting these dots together. And then now
Okay.
on your host, you're gonna have the video, you're gonna have the voiceover, the same thing. You also do the same thing. You have it on your host. You just need to run the command tool FMBG on it to put all these pieces together based on your structures. And now another API that will post it, and feature utilization API that will allow you to do the things on the platforms you want it to be posted on.
Hmm. And so, what's for someone who's never used an API before, right? There's two ways to go about it. You can either, and correct me if I'm wrong, there might be more, but you can either write custom scripts, which is again just code. You can write code to interact with these platforms with their APIs, or you can use what's called a no code platform, such as Zapier, which is spelled Zapier. Again, we'll put that link into the description, or something like make.com, which was formerly known as Integromat. And these are no code platforms where you can set up actions that happen based on triggers. So, your trigger event might be ChatGPT responds. So, in other words, you prompted ChatGPT, make me a script on five top restaurants Palm Beach Island, and it responds. That triggers this automation to start that then takes the output from GPT and sends it to the next platform, which I forget the name of it. Again, it will be in the description, but then that platform will receive the data. Then you can have another trigger set up on that platform where when this platform receives said data, it scans it for keywords, and then it takes those keywords, and then and you get the idea, and it passes it to the next one. And so
That's
it's sort of like a marathon, or not a marathon, but a relay race where someone has a baton and they hand the baton to the next runner, and then that runner goes, and then they hand it to the next one, and so on and so forth. And so you can do that manually. In some cases, you have to do it manually, depending on what's needed, or if one of these no-code platforms does not already work with, in which we call integrate, does not integrate with one of the softwares that we're using. But if it does, then you can use a no-code platform. That is not generally free past a certain number of actions. So they'll give you maybe up to 750 actions a month. But in a process like this, you might have 10 actions that need to be taken, which, presumably could be free. That means you could make 75 videos for free. But some platforms are also premium platforms. And so at that point, you need to pay for a paid subscription. But even then, if all you need to pay for in this entire process is a subscription, a basic subscription to something like Zapier or make.com, you're talking maybe $30 a month. And then that puts your entire social media on autopilot. Like, I would say that's worth it. That's $1 a day. My coffee costs $7.50. So I think it's
I mean, you nailed it. You really nailed it. It's that's exactly right. And most likely all the platforms we have talked about, they already have a shared API that you can utilize. And the reason I read those research to share platforms that the average person can use. And you really put it in one of the best practical use that someone can actually start using it and testing the idea. And then also you can, like it's now you're an AI expert. Look at you. So so yeah, and now from this idea, you also what the end goal is to build your own algorithm. So it's to rely on APIs like things like Zap or things like that. It could be like a great start. But the end goal is to have your own algorithm, to have your own, like, especially if if your business relying on content creation, putting all this tool together and start, learning your algorithm and start retuning it. And, that's the only thing um, it will kind of be hard to do. If you do like a no code, it will still have a certain capabilities to retune this process, but it's not, obviously, as you understand, it's not like it's not like, you still have certain limitations that you cannot do. So the ultimate goal is to make your own algorithm, regardless what kind of algorithm you're looking for, and to start retuning it. And and so in the after 6 months, you're already expert at your own algorithm, right? And you're not just an ignorance that just let platforms run it for them. It's your pictures, it's your business, it's your content, it's your everything. And to build
Right.
something like this, to put it in perspective, if you're gonna do custom code everything, right, and you're gonna obviously the most important part to rely on APIs, but if you're gonna do what Zapier is or things like that, that could be really done in a matter of less than a month. And if you put all these subscriptions, what are you going to pay for a month, for a year, and you kind of put whatever you're going to pay in a year, put it in a month, but you own your own algorithm, you do your own tuning. That's my recommendations. If someone 100% their business relying on data, it's not like if someone started last night and you know what I'm saying, and they're not sure about it, obviously, you can pick their poison. But I'm talking about if it's a real, if a real estate agent that being on the market, that generating revenue, building your own algorithm, it's an important step. Even if you don't do it today, you'll do it tomorrow. And if you don't tomorrow, you do it after tomorrow. And if you don't do it at all, someone else will do it and it'll pull you out of business. So it's this is the process of how is it gonna be. So it's today or tomorrow. That's an investment you do. The earlier you can do the investment, the better it is.
Right. And this, guys, this applies for any of you out there who are not a real estate agent. I mean, this is applicable for you too. This is just about creating custom content, whatever that content might be. It could even just be you on camera creating a digital clone of yourself with the voiceover, etc. So, as I hope that this session was immensely valuable for you. I think Kira and I both know that there's a tremendous amount of value that was shared here today, and we definitely hope that you'll walk away and use some of it. We're going to post the resources that we've discussed in the description of the video here and in our post in our community platform, which if you haven't joined, please be sure to go ahead and join. It's called palmbeaches.ai. That's PALMBEACHES.ai, as in artificial intelligence. Okay. And so on there, we post about our events. If you're local, we have events here locally that we run in person, whether it's mixers or workshops where we're doing hands-on work with AI tools. And then also be sure to keep up with the podcast as well. And on that note, Kira, I want to talk about our next use case for next week.
Oh,
Okay.
nice,
So
nice,
guys,
nice.
the way that this podcast works is that I reveal to Kiro a problem that a business owner in our community is having, and it's Kiro's job within 1 week to go and find out the solution. And if we know another expert in artificial intelligence or automation or technology in general in our community who would be able to have some valuable insight, then we'll also bring them on as a guest. And so here is our problem for next week. Okay. This has to do with medical providers and insurance companies. Okay. Just to give you guys some background, some context, when a medical provider provides a service, they bill an insurance company if it's a billable service. Now, when they send that report to an insurance company, the insurance company may pay it right away, but in some cases, they will deny it, they will depose it, and they will something else. They will, but in long story short, the insurance company may try not to pay it. They may claim that this is not a service eligible for them to pay out from the insurance policy. And so the way that doctors make a living is not just by accepting the money that insurance companies send them, but by fighting for more, right? By saying that, hey, we issued these services, this is why they were necessary, and this is why we deserve to be paid. Now, if you take the average doctor, what are they good at? They're good at providing medical care. They're not necessarily good at collecting. Now, your larger practices have what's called a collector, which is someone who sits on the phone and will call insurance agents, and they will basically arbitrate with them to try and get more money, right? That's how they make a living. And that's not necessarily an expertise that doctors have. And it's not necessarily a luxury that smaller doctors have either, to hire a collector. And even then, not all collectors are made equal. Some really know the laws and others don't. And so our use case is, how do we use AI to do two things? One, we want to make sure that our collectors or our doctors, whoever's going to be on the phone with an insurance agent, knows it can do two things. One, they're as up to date. One, they have the most up to date information as far as what the laws are around this service and how the insurance companies are paying out for this service. So, in other words, insurance companies continue to update their codes, their billing codes, and with that comes updates to what you can make money for, what you can't, or what's required for you to be able to make money on a service, etc. So we want to make sure that whoever's on the phone has the most up-to-date information for the insurance company, and based on the law, and then two, so that they can access that in real time. So they're on the phone with this agent, with this insurance company agent. And let's say this insurance company agent, I'm not sure if agent is the right word, but this person, this representative from the insurance company is now saying things that are not necessarily factually true or legal in an attempt to not pay out on the policy. Right? So now they're denying the doctor, the medical professional, money that they should be earning for services that were rendered. And so how do we enable with artificial intelligence our doctors and our medical collectors, our insurance collectors, to be able to have as much information as possible in real time to arbitrate, to negotiate with the insurance companies to get as much money as possible for the doctor. That's our
Nice,
use case.
nice, nice. That's a pretty use case, and it's actually something that doctors go through, and they pay for. It's a service actually they pay for, and I think there is a percentage of then they pay for the collector to do that, and I think
Yeah,
it's a
some
pretty decent.
yeah, some have collectors that, right, they pay a collection service, and some have them in house if they can afford it, full time staff, and some doctors
Yeah,
try and handle it themselves.
yeah. So let's see how much they paid him too. You remember, like when we think about AI solution, we want to make sure the input it's not greater than the output, right? Or you got what I'm saying.
Right. So
Um,
is whatever solution we could come up with cost effective? Does it even make sense?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I also like even if it's a great solution, I always like because I'm a mind of a business before an AI solution, so I always like to think about it like in this matter because I have done a lot of mistakes where I create solutions that's it looks great, it sounds great, and I have seen a lot of business owners as well. I have created for them solutions that sounds great, that looks great, and but and only benefit them. And if they're not big enough, if you're saying they're small to medium, do you want to get make something that just not benefit them, that benefit someone else for the sake of the investment they're gonna do. Um so
Hmm.
um so yeah, so let's like let's look at that, send me the paperwork and let's look at it. And it's a valid problems that's even me had nothing to do with this provider. I understand, so let's look at it, and if it's something that we can work on, definitely we do it.
All right. Sweet. Well, hey, Kira, thank you so much for taking the time to put together this solution and to outline it for our real estate agent and for everyone else out there who's interested in creating social media content on autopilot or as close to it as possible. Um, Super excited. We're going to share those resources with everybody so you'll have access to the links of those platforms. And really excited to see what you come up with for next week.
All right, thank you, James, for having me, and we talk soon.
All right.
All right,
Take it easy,
have a good
everybody.
day. All right, bye.
Bye.